Good evening, everybody, and welcome to this very special episode of Songwriting Simplified with me, Jonny Lipsham, here at jonnylipshamstudios.co.uk, here in the glorious Midlothian region of Scotland, capital of the UK, capital of Europe, capital of the world, capital of the galaxy and the universe. Now we've got all of that out of the way, my usual crazy intros. I must come up with more serious ones at some point. Kyle says, YouTube didn't start for me, had to refresh. Oh dear. Oops. Sorry about that. We've got a lot of people here, which is awesome already. I'm very, very impressed. And we have Lucas Rushiska, my good friend, fellow jazz pianist, and Studio One guru, Studio One legend, and macro genius. He is here, which is awesome. Glad you are here, Lucas, because I know you're not always able to make it over to my show, so I'm glad you're here. Thank you for coming. Let's see, who else we have? We have Mike Johnson, who is the first in the door, and then we have my awesome sponsor, Alps Media LLC, and my good friend Louis, or Lewis when he's in trouble, but you know, only you and I know that. John Edgar's here as well. Let's see, who else do we have? We have Radio Talk Frumpet, that'd be my good friend Keith. And who else do we have? I have to scroll down a wee bit. Don Oliver is here. Bobby Booth is here as well. Ronald Fugura is here. And who else do we have? Who's in the chat so far? Troy, my good friend Troy, is here as well. Good to see you, Troy. Welcome to the show, because I think this is the first time you've been here, but I'm glad you're here. Thank you for coming, everybody, especially all you that have not been to my show before. This is not a typical Songwriting Simplified show. Normally we talk about cool things to do with songwriting, and we do a little bit of music theory and stuff like that as well. So that's kind of normally what we do for the show, but so this is a wee bit different than the normal. So if you want to see what a normal Songwriting Simplified is like, come back on Wednesday next week, which will still be at 6 p.m. Central. That will be midnight UK time, because this weekend our clocks go forward. So it will be back to midnight UK, 1 a.m. Central Europe time. Sorry, Lucas, I know that's kind of late for you. John Hathwaite is here as well, which is fantastic. I'm glad you're here, John. Welcome. Ambient Dave is here, which is great. And John Moffat is also here. Fantastic. I'm glad everybody... there's a lot of familiar names that I'm seeing here who have not been along to any of my shows, but you guys are here, which is great. Thank you for coming. Brian Torrance has also just walked in the door, which is great. Cool. We've got loads of people here. All right, so... Studio One 6.1 was launched this afternoon, UK time, around about 4 o'clock this afternoon, which would have been about 11 a.m. Central time. And a good number of fixes to some pesky little bugs, and also some pretty cool, nifty little features that have been added as well. And some of those features we've been asking for quite a long time, and they have been added to this build of Studio One, which is very exciting. I put a video out this morning, which I released just after launch time, of my overview of basically what for me I think are the five coolest, 5 best new features that I will find incredibly useful for Studio One 6.1. But there are some cool little songwriting ones which I probably won't use that much, because these days I don't tend to go out on a live setting, but I'm very excited that these have been added to Studio One, because if and when I do start going out live, one of the things that this is going to help me with is with remembering lyrics to my own songs. Believe it or not, I can remember lyrics to just about everybody else's songs without any problems. Lyrics to my own songs, I will frequently mix up the chorus from one song with the chorus from another song? Well, we now have a solution to that problem, and I'm going to show you that tonight. So it's cool. So please do hit the like button if you have not done so already. And of course, everybody who is in chat is a subscriber, which is fantastic. So if you are watching and you are not a subscriber yet, you're not going to be able to actually join in the chat until you subscribe. So please do hit that subscribe button, hit the notification bell, and select all notifications. It helps you, it helps me, it helps everybody. It's very helpful little thing, because you won't miss any other videos that I put out. And likely I'm going to put out some more videos on Studio One 6.1 over the next few weeks and days, and we'll be doing more discussion on some of these features as well. So if you don't want to miss those things, and you don't want to miss either Sunday Night Live on Sundays at 6 p.m. Central, or this show on a Wednesday, and for some reason my printer's just started whirring into life, concerningly. Stop it. We don't want that happening. We had about 20 people here, and we're down to 16, because a few people saw my face and decided they didn't want to see that, I think. Anyway, John Hathwaite says, lyrics track is in the show page, is finally here. It is, and I'm just about to show you that. So for those of you that have not seen it yet, you're going to get to see that tonight. It's going to be pretty cool. And then we'll open the floor to your questions on songwriting, composing, arranging, and music theory, and that kind of general stuff that we usually cover. If you have any questions about, jazz harmony and that kind of stuff, you're in luck, because you have two jazz pianists in chat tonight. So you got me, and you got Lucas as well. And Lucas knows his way around jazz harmony exceedingly well as well. So he can help you out too. Bobby Booth says, saw only two things that will help me. Okay. Well, that's two more than you had before, Bobby. So, and I've already gone over in my video. If you've not seen that video, go check out my overview video, where I go over 5 of the new features. I haven't covered everything, but certainly I have covered those 5. So there's new features with the color picker, and there's also the loudness normalization standards, an album mode for the project page. Those are 2 kind of reasonably good ones. But as I said, go and check out that video if you have not done so. But please wait until the end of the show before you do that if you haven't seen it yet. Don't kind of walk away now. All right, so let's get into it without any more conversation. So let's go over to Studio One. That's not Studio One. That is, that's my metrics for the show. You don't want to see that, because metrics are boring. And my webcam is off. Let's turn that on. There we go. So there you go. I'm in the little corner over here. Okay, so one of the cool things that is available now on the lyrics track, and I actually only just noticed this just before showtime, because I have the view zoomed to basically the loop zone, and the loop zone is set from start to end of song. All my lyrics in the lyric tracks are a little bit bunched up, and I just said a word I probably shouldn't have, because I conglomerated bit and much into one word. I don't know how I did that. Anyway, when you hover over a lyric box, you now can see the whole lyric. So you can see exactly where everything is. So you just hover your mouse over it, and it shows that particular box and all its contents, which is pretty cool. That's just a little handy feature, because if you want to grab a particular box and you want to move it, you can do without moving the wrong one. It's a little bit easier for moving and shifting things around. Also, it is now tied to Ripple Edit, which I think is very, very handy. So in the lyrics track, if you have Ripple mode enabled, when you delete a line or you delete a word from a line, it'll all shift you up along the line, like it does when you delete an event. When you have Ripple mode engaged, everything kind of shifts and closes up the gap without you having to range select and move a whole bunch of stuff. So if you find that there's a line in your song and you go, you know what, I think that line's a little bit weak, I want to take it out, but you know, I may want to replace it with something else at a later date. Or maybe I think, hey, actually, there's too many lines in this particular verse. I just want to lose a line and just have a shorter verse. Then you certainly can do that now. You can just take out the offending line, and then with ripple mode enabled, everything that is to the right of it would just move up now, like you would with events. So that's a handy little feature. I did not demonstrate that in the video because I have only just noticed that myself and thought, oh, that's handy. So there's one that I actually missed. So sorry about that, guys. But I've described it a wee bit there. All right, so for songwriting and for those that are performing their own songs or they are performing other people's songs, and you have lyrics like this in a song that you want to put into a show, the lyrics will now go over to the show page. So when you go to song and you go add to show and you select that show, what happens is this. Ta-da! We now have a lyrics track as well as a chord track, which is very, very handy, even though those chords, oh no, that's another song. I was about to say those chords are not correct. And I'm going to change that garish color because there we go. So the lyrics track, as you can see, is now available in this particular song, and you can of course open this display here, the lyrics display like you have on the song page. Now, this is fine and all well and good because when I play the track, this works as it does in the song page. Things against me, my back against the wall, holding all the words, cards I feel 2 feet tall. So it changes color and scrolls automatically as you have it in the song page, which is great when you're recording and you've got your lyrics in the song and you want to make sure that you are able to do a good performance of the song. Now, when it comes to actually doing a gig, you can do this karaoke style. If I click on the perform button here, here is all the sections of the song, and I've got this queued up on verse 1, but I can queue this up for the intro, and then I can go over here and click this button, and hey presto, watch this. This is cool. When everything's against me, my back against the wall, holding all the words, cards I feel 2 feet tall. So this is very, very cool. This is incredibly useful and cool. And the great thing about this is that this now also opens on a tablet or an iPad or on a separate screen. So you can have your effectively an auto cue or a teleprompter for when you're doing your show. And you can follow the lyrics and you can set the time for when the lyric line goes blue. You can either set it, you click on this wrench here and you can set it to go ahead in, and this is in quarter notes, so that's 1.5 quarter notes. And you can set the alignment, you can change the font size, so you can make it bigger, you can make it smaller, you can have it left justified over there, or you can have it center. I like it in the center. And I've set this to 48, but you can set this bigger if you want to. But these colors are default. There is no way that you can change these colors. If the blue is a little bit dark, you'll just have to adjust the contrast of your screen so that the blue stands out a little bit more. But at the moment, you cannot, there are no user definable colors at the moment. But I think there's probably a good feature request there for being able to select the upcoming lyric color and the lyric color, the color for the lyrics that you're about to do. You know, you can make this, I don't know, you can make it yellow or something because it'll stand out better against the black background. And I think that might be a better option. However, this is kind of, I think they've taken the inspiration for these colors from karaoke units, where it tends to be a blue color for when you are about to perform, and it's white otherwise, and then it goes grayed out when the line has been done. So I think this is kind of based upon the idea of a karaoke machine and kind of what they do. There's no bouncing ball. That might be quite cool to have a bouncing ball. But no bouncing ball here. But yes, this is kind of based upon, I guess, a karaoke system where it goes blue for the line that is upcoming, and then these ones are pending, and these ones are done. So you cannot choose the colors at the moment, but this is fantastic. This will show up in the Studio One Remote 1.7, which is also launched today as well. So if you have Studio One Remote, go get that update from the App Store for your device, whatever it is, whether it's an iPad or an iPhone or an Android tablet or whatever it is, then you can go get this update. And you will get this view by selecting the 4th dot here. There used to be 3, but now there's 4, which is for the lyrics. So if your song has lyrics in it from the song page and you send it to the show, this view will exist for you, and that rhymes because I'm a songwriter. But also this will, as I say, this will appear in on an iPad as well. In the Studio One Remote. So you can have your vocalist have the Studio One Remote so that they can use this mode to perform if you're not the vocalist. You know, for example, if you're just the guitar player or you do something else, you may not need this view at all. You may just need the chord track, which there isn't a chord track for this particular song, but you'd be out in this mode rather than the perform view. It'd be nice if there was, you know, like there is a lyrics view. Maybe it'd be good if there was a chords view as well. I think that would be another good feature request to have. But yeah, this is what I wanted to show you guys. This is very, very cool. I didn't enter this into my video because I thought, hey, great, this would be perfect for Songwriting Simplified tonight and do this in the live setting like this, and then, you know, we can discuss this, we can talk about this, and already I've thought of 2 extra feature requests that would just take this to the next level. Now this is brand new, having this lyrics view, so I'd rather suspect that this is kind of not the finished article. I rather suspect that there is more to come with this, and there's things that can be added and extended to make it better, like, for example, John Hathaway actually says the same thing about the blue colors. He says, under blue lights, that blue might be unreadable. Yes, for sure. That is certainly a possibility. But you could come out of this view and you could go into this view, maybe. But, I mean, it's the same colors. But at least the contrast won't be quite so bad. But yes, I'm inclined to agree that blue might be maybe not the greatest color for certain lighting conditions, and maybe make it adaptable so you can actually choose the 2 colors for pending and upcoming and done. So if you have like three color options for done, for pending, and upcoming. So, you know, you can make the upcoming yellow instead of blue, and you can make the pending, I don't know, a different color entirely. It doesn't have to be white. It could be something else. Something else that is kind of a little bit more customizable and easier to see. But yes, that's a great idea, and I rather suggest, John, that you take my ideas and write them up as a feature request. Seeing we're both kind of on the same page with this one, and let me know when you have posted that feature request in answers, and I will go and upvote it myself as well. And I will bring this up at a Studio One meeting as well, and I'll see what the guys think about it. But yes, make a feature request, please, on that, because I think that's a great idea. Okay, so that's about it. There's not really a whole lot else to show you with this particularly. Now, one other thing to say is that if you have a MIDI file that has lyrics in it, you can now import that into Studio One, and the lyrics will appear in the note editor as well. So if you've got a MIDI file, bring that into the note editor. If it's got lyrics embedded in it, those will be unpacked and they will appear in the side panel. I've not actually tested that myself. I'm just going on what the release notes say. Because I ran out of time, to be honest, to be able to test everything. But that is listed amongst the features available for lyrics. So definitely check that out and let me know what you guys find out. But yeah, there's a bunch of other things in the Studio One remote that it's been updated, so it now looks a little bit more like Studio One 6, and the icon, the desktop icon on your iPad or other whatever device it is, has also been updated to reflect Studio One 6's desktop icon as well. So it's similar. It's a little bit brighter, sparkier than it used to be. So it's pretty cool. All right, let's see. Back over here. I'm going to go and see what we got. Lucas says, your 6.1 overview video is great. Enjoyed it very much. Thank you very much, Lucas. I appreciate that, mate. Thank you. Bobby Booth says he saw it. And W5 Family is saying, hey all, thumbs up. Yes, please do hit the like button. Kyle says, certainly grateful for all bug fixes. Yes, and there's a few pretty cool new features. John Hathwaite says, can we change the color from dark blue to something brighter? Yeah, we talked about that. Let's see. Tony R says, first design mistake, it's hard to view in optimum lighting. Yeah, I think the reason why they went for those colors is that those tend to be kind of like general colors for things like karaoke machines. They tend to have the upcoming line in blue and then pending ones as white. That seems to be pretty common, so I guess that's kind of why they went for those colors. But I don't know for certain. I'm kind of taking an educated guess, to be honest. Keith says, not a bouncing ball. Let's use a side image of Gregor's head. A bouncing Gregor head. There you go. That's what's needed. A bouncing Gregor head. John says he's already updated to 1.7. Awesome. Harley Bob says, I have Studio One Remote and love it. Yes, I think Studio One Remote is fantastic. And it's even better now than it has ever been at any time. It was pretty useful for, me being able to, for example, if I'm doing recording and I'm playing a guitar or I'm playing my bass, or my chair has just developed a squeak, or I'm playing sax or trumpet or something like that. I want to be a little bit further back in the room. And so the remote is perfect for that. Also, I can freak my kids out. I can go hide in the ensuite bathroom, which was just behind that wall. And I can say to my kids, hey, can you go into my studio for a second? And then I will move faders or something, or I'll start the song or whatever, and I'll make the faders move. And it freaks them out. And that for me is kind of highbrowed entertainment. So, and probably an unexpected feature of the Studio One remote. John says, I use Studio One remote to trigger the walk-on music. Very useful. I have a stage Wi-Fi access point to keep it all secure. That's a very, very good thing to do. Let's see. What else do we have? I think that's it. But yes, definitely I take into consideration the color of the text. I think that is a great feature request. And I'm sure tech support will get some tickets on that as well, and that will just kind of add to the weight of, hey, this maybe ought to be improved. Good calls. Thank you guys. I appreciate that. All right, have we got any questions just in general about Studio One 6.1? Maybe what are your favorite of the new features, or which ones are you going to find most useful? We can talk about that. So please, get those in the chat, and make sure you type at Jonny Lipsham Studios first. And what that does in the chat, it makes my name show up in red, and then I can just pick those out from amongst your general chit chat, because it is easy, if you don't do that, for me to miss a question. And if you've got a question, I want to be able to answer the question. So it's important to me that you do that, so that I don't miss any of your questions. So let's get those in the chat. Otherwise, this will be a remarkably short show for a new launch of Studio One. Oh, great. Louis says, I'll test the blue color under blue light tonight. Yeah, I rather suspect that it might be a little bit tricky to see it, unless you maybe crank up the brightness or the contrast on your screen. That might be the only real solution for now. Possibly. Bobby Booth says the color palette. Yes, the color palette is great. I love the color palette personally. And I've been playing about with it quite a bit, actually. Now I have to make a full confession here. I am one of those people that is I'm one of the rare people that is not just colorblind, but I'm totally colorblind. I see no colors at all. It's fairly uncommon. I think there's like only maybe 1% of the population of the entire world don't actually see any colors. They don't perceive any colors at all. And I'm one of those, which makes me definitely a freak of nature. Mike says we have passed 30 viewers, which is awesome. Thank you very much, everybody. And 27 likes. That's even better. Thank you so much, everybody. I really appreciate all your likes, and I really appreciate all your subscriptions as well. And 30 is not quite a new attendance record for us for one of the live shows. I think the record is 34. We've not broken that yet, so it'd be nice if we could pierce through that and get to 35 or 36 or maybe even 40. That would be something else if we get to that point. But the color palette is very, very cool. I really like it. So if I was to click on, say, this piano part now, the color palette itself has a bunch of additional colors. But if I click on this little arrow at the bottom, you've now got this wheel of glorious cosmic colors. So you can now select any particular shade of color, and then you can use this to kind of micro adjust it. It's white level, it's yellow level, it's dark level, and every shade possible in between. I really like this, so I could just drive this around and find a color that I like, which I think describes a piano quite well. I don't know what you guys like for pianos, but I kind of like that. And then if I kind of make it a little bit more pink, maybe, or turn it around this way a little bit. It's a little bit too pink. There we go. I think that's a nice color for a piano. I quite like that. Now, unfortunately, this dialog box here isn't movable. It would be nice if you could actually just move it a wee bit so that it's out of the way of the transport bar at the bottom here. That would be particularly cool. But you cannot adjust it. There's nothing to grab onto at the edges to kind of move it in any way, unfortunately. However, you can store a preset and you can say, hey, this is the color I want for all pianos going forward. And this is the piano color. And you can do the same for vocals. You can create a whole bunch of presets here for colors that you like, for the way you like your mixer to appear. Like maybe you like all of your woodwind instruments to be green, all of your brass instruments to be purple, all of your drums yellow, and vocals red, or whatever, or all of your bus channels to be red, which is my preference. My preference is all bus channels are red, but that's because I live in the UK and I lived in London for 12 years, and buses are red in London. So, kind of buses should be red. Now I know in the United States, buses are not red. They kind of are yellow. So, For you, you might want to have your buses yellow. I know Mike Johnson is a big advocate of buses being yellow. I'm a big advocate of buses being red. So I could create a preset here that has a particular shade of red, which is the only shade of red that I would use for buses. And I can store this as just bus color. And there you go. And then anytime I have a bunch of bus channels that I create, I can just instantly load up that preset on those channels. Very, very powerful. Tony R says, do lyrics move if you change the arrangement, i.e. move chorus, verses around? Yes, they do. I'm not going to do that with that particular song because although I'm kind of finished with that song, I'm still working with it. Although that song is finished and it's out and it's published, it's released, I'm still kind of working with it. So I'm not going to demonstrate that with that song. But yes, and the other thing is, as I said earlier, it's now tied to the ripple edit as well. So if you have ripple edit mode on and you delete a line, everything else moves and closes up that gap. But yes, if you move an arranger block, if you decide that verse 3 should come before the guitar solo or not after it, everything that is connected to that arranger block will move. And that includes the chord track, automation, tempo mapping, and time signature and key signature changes, and the lyrics track. All of that is inclusive in the arranger block. So when you move that arranger block, everything within it also moves. But yeah, that's a good question. Just Bob says, sneaking to hit the like button, gonna watch later. Okay, Bob, I'm glad you did that. Thank you very much, mate. And John Hawk is here, which is awesome. Thank you for coming, John. Let's see. We're up to 31, so just like 3 more, and we tie the record. Paul Morgan is here. Hello, Paul. And he says, a little off topic, but I'm having issues with Pipeline XT. Recently went to Focus Claret Plus. Oh, plus 8. And an Octopre. It seems I can't get send and return signal, only send. Yeah, Pipeline is not really my thing, because I don't really have any external hardware at all. But if you've got 2 Focusrite devices, it might be that you need to use ADAT rather than Pipeline to connect those 2 devices together. I'm not really sure what it is exactly you're trying to achieve there. But if you're trying to effectively daisy chain 2 devices, depending upon the device and what it's capable of, and also your computer operating system and whether it supports it, it might not be possible. So those are things that you probably need to take a look at, Paul. But other than that, I can't really give you a whole lot more specific advice about how to set those kind of things up, because I don't use Pipeline, because I don't have any external gear. David Anthony is here. Hello, David. Good to see you. Mike asserts very strongly, he says, in the US, a bus is yellow. That explains the Coldplay song thing. It was all yellow. Maybe he was like on New York Broadway or something in New York, and there's a load of buses or taxis or something, and he saw it was all yellow. I don't know. Something like that, because I know taxis are yellow as well, aren't they? So I wonder if it's the same thing. Let's see. Semog Eng, mixing and mastering engineer. It's possible to record through an audio track with Pipeline XT activated, like instead of using it for offline rendering, using for printing to a 2-track thing. Again, I don't know. Like I said, I don't use Pipeline XT at all because I don't have any external gear. I used to have external gear long time ago, many years ago, long before Studio One was even a glint in the DAW milkman's eye. That would be Matthias Yuan, long before he'd even thought of the Crystal audio engine, whilst he was still at Steinberg. I was on Cubase and I still had some external hardware. I'd stripped back a lot of my external hardware, but I was gradually going from full analog to kind of a hybrid thing. before going 100% in the box. So I don't use pipeline or any external compressors or EQs or anything like that. But I'm fairly confident that you should be able to record through an EQ and a compressor on the way in if you put those in the signal chain before you go into your preamp, or after your preamp but before you go into your converter, something like that. You should be able to do that. But it will get printed directly to your recording as you're recording, so make sure you get those settings set correctly first. David Anthony says buses in Sydney were green, not sure what they are now. Okay, cool. John says I cannot seem to be able to add a new feature request. Okay, the way you add a feature request is you go to answers.presonus.com, you sign in with your Presonus credentials, so the same that you use for logging into your My Presonus account, same credentials for answers.presonus.com. When you've done that and you're logged in, at the top, in the menu at the top, you'll see a button that says Ask a Question. Click on that. That's step one. So actually, step one is log in. Step two, hit the Ask a Question button. Once you've done that, a whole kind of form appears, and you fill out your feature request there, and then before you submit it, there's a little drop down underneath the box where you enter the body of text, and in that drop down you just select Studio One feature request. That's where you want it to get posted to, because there are lots of other sections for different things, like Faderport feature requests, Notion feature requests, Studio Live feature requests. There's loads of other feature request sections, and you want to make sure that this goes to the right place. So select Studio One feature request, and then submit your question, and then go locate it and vote it up yourself. Be the first person to vote up your own feature request, and then from there, go and grab that link, copy it, and paste it to all of the Facebook groups for Studio One, and campaign for votes. Consider it like a party political electoral campaign. You're campaigning for votes to get this feature request voted up. When you have a feature request in Answers that has a lot of votes, then that tells the development team, hey, this is a popular idea. A lot of people dig this idea that we don't have yet in Studio One, and they take it very, very seriously at that point, and they start thinking about A, how they can implement it, B, when they should implement it, because it doesn't necessarily mean it's going to be added to the very next build. It might be, but it might not. They will, if they like the idea, if they agree with your idea, and they think it can be done, then and it can be implemented, then they decide where it should go in the kind of broad roadmap of Studio One. Okay, John says, I was logged in, but I had to click on register. Curious. You shouldn't have to register because you're already registered. Curious. I've never had that experience making feature requests before. But that is worth noting. So once John has made his feature request, he won't be able to post the link because he doesn't have posting rights here. But he's going to post a link to it in all the Facebook groups. If you're a member of any of those Facebook groups, go follow his link and go vote it up. Because I think it's an excellent bunch of feature requests. There was a red bar saying sign in or register. Okay, so from there you should have been able to sign in. Okay. So hopefully you're in now. It's been a while since I've done it, but it does work. I've made feature requests, although now that I'm an employee of Presonus, there is a whole other way in which I get to make feature requests. It's kind of one of the perks of the gig. Yes, good point, Rich. My good friend Rich Cresswell at Studio One Tuts says they sorted the ascending channels out. Love this edition. Yes. And there's just proof, folks, that if you make a feature request, sometimes it can just get added, even if it doesn't have a lot of votes. If they think, hey, this is something that can be done, or we were already thinking of doing this, it can certainly be implemented. And Rich only made that feature request a wee while ago. And it's there. It's now in Studio One 6.1. Another thing to encourage you folks about feature requests is the Studio One meetups are another good way to get feature requests to the attention of the development team. You can raise them as a point at one of the Studio One meetups, and whomever the host is will make note of that feature request. And then what they do is, I'm one of the hosts, by the way, and what we do is we compile a list, and then we send that list off to Gregor, who is in charge of the Studio One meetups. He oversees those and makes sure that they work properly. And then what happens is he then has a meeting with the developers, and they go over kind of what's being raised in the Studio One meetups. And a number of what was raised at the UK Studio One meetup, which is the one that I host, was implemented in Studio One 6.0. I think we're out of all of the features added to 6.0, I think 5 of them came from the UK Studio One meetup, which is very impressive. I was really, really impressed by that. They also added a bunch of new commands too. Yes, they did, including being able to change macro pages. Lucas actually has a very, very, very good video on the new macros and the new macro pages and the new macro selection option, which is great. The new command to be able to assign a particular key command to select a particular macro page. I watched his video earlier on today, and it's fantastic. So please, if you have not subscribed to Lucas Rudzicka's channel, please go do it, because his videos are freaking awesome. And particularly his videos on some of the new Studio One 6.1 features. We have both covered a little bit of the same ground, but he does his in his own unique way, and I do mine in my uniquely Scottish way that I don't think Lucas would ever want to replicate, because the Highlands / Lowlands Edinburgh kind of Scottish accent is not easy to do. But did I cover the loop range thing? I did that in my video, but I can certainly go over that again. That's a good call. Bobby Booth says, I wish that they would make the fader flip easier. Okay, I'm not really entirely sure what you're finding that it's difficult with, but we can talk about that for sure. We're kind of running out of time though, so maybe we can extend that over into Sunday's show. So if there are particular Studio One 6 features that you're having a bit of a problem with, then by all means, please do raise those on Sunday as well. So we can continue this conversation over there for sure. Oh, Tim from Sound Science is here as well. Hello, Tim. I'm very happy to see you. Welcome. Yes, we're all doing pretty good, thanks, mate. I've had cellulitis, which I'm still kind of recovering from. My left leg is like almost twice the size of my right one at the moment, and is pretty painful, but I'm glad you're here, mate. Welcome. Alright, so yes, hit Lucas's channel and hit it hard. I'm sure he would appreciate it too. Tim says, I missed the Facebook Studio One group. Yeah, well, by all means, come back and join us. We'd be happy to have you. Just go make a request. So, but I'm glad you're here, Tim. Let's see. What was I gonna show? I was gonna show something. Oh yes, the loop thing. The loop thing. Let's go back over to Studio One. Hey Kingston, over in the Caribbean. Glad you're here, mate. Rich is excited beyond belief. I'm seeing this. This is great. All right, Mike, please can we do an after show so that we can enjoy Rich's excitement. 36 likes, dear God. Thank you, everybody. You have blown me away. Thank you so much. All right, so the loop thing. This is very cool. This cool little wee bracket here that joins the left and the right locators in the transport bar. I'm not able to zoom in OBS, or at least I've not figured out how to zoom in and zoom out on OBS. Oh, awesome. John has submitted. Great. Thank you, John. So this wee bracket is very, very cool, because when you hover over it, look, it tells you what the length of this loop is, and you can actually set this loop as well. So, you know, I can extend this out, and look, it tells you exactly how long the loop is. So it tells me this is 28.5 seconds long. So if I want to make this into an exactly 30 seconds long song, I can drag this until it says 30, or I can click on this bracket here, and now it says exactly how long this loop zone is. And because I have been asked to make this exactly 30 seconds long, I can click on here, and I can click on seconds, and I can click on here, and I can roll that over to 30, and I can set that to 0. And there we go. My loop zone is now exactly 30 seconds, so I can now go ahead and export this at exactly 30 seconds, and I'm not having to worry about the old way of having to do it. So in the old days, before this was even dreamt of, and I'm glad, by the way, that they did this. I don't know whether this was a feature request or whether this was just some fantastic idea that they had. Oh, use the Windows magnifier in accessibility tools. You can bind this to a key or a mouse macro. Oh, cool. I didn't know you could do that. To be honest, I've never touched any of the accessibility tools, so thank you for that. What was I going to say? Oh, yes. So what we used to have to do was we used to have to go to Song, export Mixdown, and then it would show your loop. So now it says 26 seconds. Oh, look, there's this overlap feature. I didn't see that before. What the hell? When did that come in? Ha ha! That's freaking awesome. Who the hell thought of that? An overlap option. Wow, that's fantastic. So I can see that this is exactly 26 seconds. It's rounded up. It's rounded up to 26 seconds. So this loop is 26 seconds long. And this is what you used to do to be able to kind of go in and make sure that your loop was correct. You have to drag this out and then go back and take a look. So you make a best guess using this, and then you go back and check and see if it's right and all of that. Pain in the butt. But now, no more. You just click on this guy and change that to seconds. And yeah, it's rounded it down. I think it should round it up. 26.916. It should round it up. Maybe that's what that overlap thing does, which I didn't see. Maybe that's a rounding up feature. If it is, I like that very, very much. But that is freaking awesome. It's actually very useful to help gauge the length of a composition ahead of time too. Yes, definitely. So you're not having to kind of work out how long it is. You know, especially if you're trying to fit a composition to time for a particular performance. So maybe not for film, not for TV, but maybe for a particular performance. You're given, let's say, exactly 90 minutes or whatever to perform this particular piece. You can make sure that it's exactly 90 minutes long and not a second longer or a second shorter. So that is definitely a very useful wee tool for sure. I love it. So there we go. I'm going to go back over here onto the slightly bigger screen. But I think we have peaked at about 27. No, we peaked at 20. No, we actually did get to 30, but we have not pierced 34. If we could get to 34, it would at least tie the record. But we've got 1 minute left of the show, so I don't think that's going to happen. Oh, there you go. I didn't know that, Lucas. That's my phone. The loop length display was actually a long-term feature request by Studio One product manager Fabian Kieswetter himself. So yes, kind of a feature request. Well, there you go. That's awesome. He must be pretty stoked to have finally got it added to Studio One. I would be if I was in his shoes. So I'll have a good chuckle with that the next time I talk to him. John Edgar says, Johnny G had a way to download each new version of Studio One to avoid various issues he commented on. Do you have any recommendation for a smooth transition to Studio One 6.1? Now, yes. In the folder that Studio One gets installed to in Windows, it installs to a Studio One 6 folder now in program files. So on a Windows machine, it's program files Studio One 6. Now, what you can do is you can go into that Studio One 6 folder and you can create a new folder and call that 6.1. And then when you do that, when you install Studio One, in the installer dialog, when it says, hey, where do you want this to install to? You select that new Studio One 6.1 folder. And then that way you have Studio One 6.0 and Studio One 6.1 side by side. Let's say you have an issue with something in Studio One 6.1 that means, hey, I'm not going to be able to use this regularly. I need to keep doing my regular work in Studio One 6.0. You can, because you've got them side by side. And it does work. That is how beta testers actually work. I have a separate folder for betas and then a separate folder for public releases. And then that way I can work between the two without showing anything that I shouldn't show to the rest of the world. And I'm sure a lot of other beta testers do that as well. Cool. Mike has put up the after show Zoom link. So if you want to come and continue the conversation, then please do come and join us. I will be there for a wee bit because I'm a little bit overexcited and I have some pain medication to take and I have a cup of tea to finish. So I will be over there as well. So thank you everybody for coming to tonight's show. We have peaked at, what have we peaked at? We peaked at 30, I think I said. Yes, we peaked at 30, which is fantastic for a Songwriting Simplified. We will continue all of this discussion and conversation because I'm sure you guys have got some other questions that you'd like to ask on Studio One 6.1. We will continue this discussion over on Sunday Night Live on Sunday at 6 p.m. Central. So please come along, be there. It will be cool and we'll continue this discussion and we can talk more about kind of your favorites of the new features and that kind of thing. That will be fun. And of course, you know, tonight has generated a new feature request based upon a new feature that's just been added to Studio One. So if you've got other thoughts that are similar where you go, hey, this is a great feature, but it could be extended this way, then let's talk about that too. And then you can do exactly what John Hathwaite's done and you can go and make a feature request and we will all go and upvote it. So John has gone and done that. After this show, please go to answers.presonus.com, log in, find John's feature request, and go vote it up. If all 30 of us go vote it up, and then next Sunday, if all 35 or 36 of us go vote it up, that's going to be like 60 or 70 votes just like that. And then go and get all your friends and all your friends' friends and all your friends' tennis partners and all your friends' tennis partners' tortoises to go and vote for it too. That'll help everybody. And hopefully that feature request will get added to another build of Studio One 6 going forward. All right, folks, we will end the show there. Thanks a lot for coming, and I'll see you on Sunday for Sunday Night Live, and we'll continue the madness, mayhem, chaos, and carnage, Studio One 6.1 style, over there. All right, folks, a very good night to you all, and I'll see you then. Good night. Scotland, capital of the UK, capital of Europe, capital of the world. Scotland, capital of the UK, capital of Europe, capital of the world. Scotland, capital of the UK, capital of Europe, capital of the world. Scotland, capital of the UK, capital of Europe, capital of the world. Scotland, capital of the UK, capital of Europe, capital of the world. Scotland, capital of the UK, capital of Europe, capital of the world. Scotland, capital of the UK, capital of Europe, capital of the world. Scotland, capital of the UK, capital of Europe, capital of the world. Scotland, capital of the UK, capital of Europe, capital of the world. Scotland, capital of the UK, capital of Europe.